Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by U.S. Army Captain and MMA veteran Jason Norwood. Captain Norwood, how are you?
How are you doing today, sir? I'm great.
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Jason, you got a fight coming up Halloween night at CFFC 52. How's training been going for the fight?
Oh, absolutely excellent. I couldn't have had a better camp, and I know everybody always says that, couldn't have had a better camp, but I'm really fortunate and very blessed to have had a camp that was injury-free and also incredibly well thought out, well prepared, and has had some incredible fruits already.
Just curious, where are you training at nowadays?
So I'm in Central Texas. Interestingly enough, this camp started in New Jersey. I was TDY at Fort Dix, and so I actually initiated camp. Well, I actually initiated camp before I went TDY, but you could say to a certain extent my 8-week process started while I was still in New Jersey.
You're originally from New Jersey, but now obviously you're stationed at Fort Hood in Texas. But I'm just curious because I was looking on your record, and I'm not sure. Some of the fights that I've looked up that you've had don't tell me the location of them, so I'm very curious to know. Is this the first time ever you're fighting in New Jersey?
Yes, in fact it is. It's a long time coming, but I'll finally be fighting back in my home state of New Jersey for the first time in 20 pro fights.
Besides the guys that helped you at the beginning part of this training camp, are you still in contact with a lot of people in New Jersey? Just, regular people, not in the fight game, but just, friends from the past?
Absolutely. I hope to have a very strong contingent there to represent me, to be supporters at the fight. My best friends from high school are still there in New Jersey, so, I know that they'll be in the audience. I've seen their tickets already. I have some family that'll be in the audience. It's still a home for me, and it's still very much someplace I wanted to go and fight because it is home.
Just curious, why the holdup? Why has it been so long? I mean, you've been in the game for a while now. Why is it now? Is it just you never got an offer to it? Was it something where you always had something lined up when you were presented with offers to fight in New Jersey? How come now it's starting to happen for you?
Absolutely, all of those reasons and the above. One of the things that is very indicative of military fighters is the constraints outside. And I'm not the type of individual, when I dedicate myself to something, I have to dedicate myself to it wholeheartedly. So if I have a military obligation that is going to take precedence over, or I think will be detrimental towards a fight, I don't take the fight. And so the only other times I've had offers to fight, even on the East Coast, I've never fought on the East Coast. The only other times I've had those offers, that's been what's been preventative for me. And so now I finally have the opportunity to change it.
Because your situation is so unique, because there's not a lot of guys who are active military and pursuing a professional fighting career, I'm just curious, what's a typical day like for you? Obviously, you have duties at the fort, and then obviously you have a family, and then you have to do your training. So I'm very curious to know, how do you manage your time, and how are you able to get everything done, and what does a typical day look like for you?
So a typical day for me, so what you need to also know is a typical day for the average soldier. The typical day for the average soldier starts at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and it ends at about 1800 or 6 p.m. And so the only difference for me is that my day doesn't end at 6 p.m. because I still have another training session. So I do a section in the morning, and that can be either technical or cardiovascular training. I do my primary strength and conditioning training during lunchtime, and then I do technical training again at night. And so I do 3-a-days pretty much every day. Even on Saturday, I'm going to do 2 sessions, and on Sunday, I'm going to do a session too. So, and what that enables you to do, one is, of course, be at peak physical condition, but also it gives you a lot of time to incorporate a lot of things. And so that's another benefit that I have of being in the service and having a pretty sound work ethic.
You're fighting Emmanuel Wallo. What are your thoughts about him as an opponent?
Emmanuel Wallo is a serviceable guy. He's very important. He's in the National Guard, so he too is in the service, if not just part-time. But he's a serviceable guy. He's got a winning record. There's a lot of interesting things about him and me as far as stylistic matchups. He's very athletic. he likes to wrestle, although his start wasn't wrestling, if you will. I.e., he didn't wrestle in high school and college and things like that. But yeah, he's a very game opponent.
In Wallow's last fight, he fought against Phoenix Jones, and like you mentioned, he really relied on his wrestling. That's how he got the job done. He just out-wrestled Phoenix Jones. Number one, were you impressed with his performance in that fight? And number two, obviously it's going to be difficult for you to answer because I'm asking you to get in the mind of your opponent, but what do you think his game plan is going to be when he faces you?
I wade in the mind of my opponents. Obviously, I've tried to put myself in his shoes a million times in order to best prepare for this fight. But to address your first statement about his fight with Ben Fedor, Phoenix Jones, I don't know what the devil they're calling him nowadays.
Right.
But so Wallow did what he needed to do in that fight, right? He has a self-proclaimed World Series of Fighting takedown record that he mentioned in an interview after that fight, actually. And so he did what he needed to do. Phoenix Jones didn't have an answer for him to take down, and Wallow, he exacted it upon him on a number of occasions. And I think that had more to do with the fact that Phoenix Jones wanted to stand with him. And so what do you do if you have a guy who's been working a certain strike, for an entire camp? The minute you put him on his back, that strike and all that time he spent doing it is null and void, right? So I did the smart thing, and I applied it to that. As far as impressed, and this is not a knock against Wallow, it takes a lot to impress me. You have to remember, I spend every day of my life with literal heroes, right? So impressing me takes a lot. So that's kind of a misnomer. I would hate to try to have to answer that question about Wallow ever impressing me. And that's not a knock against him, like I say. And then lastly, as far as what he's going to do against me. If you were to follow what he's been doing, he's been training a lot of wrestling. He's going to the Edge and Hoboken to train everything with Mr. Branch and things like that. So you would expect his wrestling to come out. You would also expect his wrestling to come out because on paper I'm a decorated wrestler. You would expect him to try and at least be prepared to counter wrestle, if nothing else. But more importantly, I think, and this is true and indicative of how he came up in the game, Wallow started with combatives, right? And one of the combatives is ground dominant. So he likes to be on the ground. So I have every expectation that he would want to be there. And so I have every expectation that whether that's through him countering me or him aggressing me, he will try and get there at some point in time.
Obviously, you'll be able to say better when the fight actually happens, but as of right now, based on what you've seen, how do you view him competition-wise? Do you view him as a step up? Do you view him as a lateral step? Do you view him as the next appropriate step in your career? How do you view him competition-wise? In all honesty, I probably fought harder opponents, and again, it sounds overwhelmingly biased against Wallow, and it is not. I fought harder opponents because they have the same pedigree and more fights. But Wallow's the next guy, and to be honest with you, I really don't get overwhelmingly concerned about who the steps in my career once the fight is signed. I worry about steps in my career when I don't have a fight. Right now, Wallow's the guy, and that's it. And there's no more to say about it. In the words of Shonuff, if you bring him to the designated place at the designated time, I will designate his. There you go. Do you have a multiple fight contract with CFFC, or is this just a one-off?
No, it's a multiple fight contract. I'm very, very happy to be a part of an organization. An organization that I don't even know if you're aware that's so innovative. For this fight in Halloween, they're actually going to have 3 judges that will be in a sterile environment watching the fight and only having video to try and see if that changes the scoring. So they're really at the leading edge of mixed martial arts, and so I'm happy to be a part of that for that reason. I'm happy to be a part of CFC because they're in my home state of New Jersey. I'm very, very happy that I got to sign a 3-fight deal and not a 1-fight deal with them.
Couldn't have said it any better. Absolutely agree. What they're doing with the judges, I think that will make a big difference. I'm hoping at least it'll make a big difference. Maybe it'll change the way people are judging, and maybe we'll get some better results. And the fact that your fight against Wallow isn't the main event just tells you how stacked this card is, because a fight between you and Wallow would be a main event on pretty much every other regional card except this one because it's so stacked. So I couldn't agree with you more. Love what CFFC is doing. Now I'm just curious, what's the game plan? And not for this fight, but going forward, what's your game plan for your career? What are you looking to do? I know obviously you have a multiple fight contract with CFFC. Are you hoping, is it UFC or bust for you? I know you've spent some time in the Bellator organization when you were on Fight Master. Are you hoping that maybe they'll pick you up? What going forward, what are you hoping to accomplish?
So, I have 2 kids. I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. At the end of the day, I love fighting, and it's not, my kids don't prevent me from fighting at all. My kids are a blessing. My kids are what wakes me up and gets me out of bed in the morning, and so that's great. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to fight, there's 2 things that I have to make sure I do. Number 1, I have to be a part of an organization that is going to compensate me in a way that benefits my children, right? So I could win all the regional belts in the world. If that money isn't enough to put them in private school to set them up for a better education, then it's not worth it. So that's how I look at my fighting career, right? And in the cage, my fighting career, therefore, has to be one of dominance. I'm an artilleryman. In the Army, we call artillery king of battle because we're the most casually producing force on a battlefield. And so one thing that artillery does is it dominates an area space. That's just what we do. We dominate area. And so that's my area of dominate is inside of a cage, inside of a ring. And that's what I have to do in order to be a part of the promotions that will compensate me enough to do the things for my children that I want to do. Because at the end of the day, that's why I get up. People have a misnomer about why we protect and serve. I am very much a patriot, but at the end of the day, what makes you, pop your head up when there's incoming fire is the guy to the left and right of you, and so what makes me get up during the day and when I'm sore and when I'm tired continue to press, what makes me want to be really great at my job both in the Army and in the cage is the 2 little girls that I have at home. I want them to be proud of me. I want to be able to provide for them. I want to be able to give them the things that they need, and I want to blaze a trail for them that they can follow, not so that they can have an easy life, but so that they can reach levels that I was never able to.
Let's say that you got some of these big paydays. Would you consider leaving the Army to pursue fighting full-time? I guess the better question is, can you? Is that even possible with your current situation? If you were to get some of these bigger paydays and could just focus on fighting, would you?
Yeah, actually, it would be possible for me to leave the Army. And to be honest with you, the reason that I haven't to date is because, and I just explained to you my work day, I'm practicing 3 times a day just like any other professional, and I'm still going to work. And part of the reason that I do that is because marrying the Army, the fighting has been very important to me. And I think it's important to people that I'm around. When I deployed, one of the guys who deployed with me, he said to me when we were on a plane, he said, I'm glad I'm coming with you. And I said, I asked him why. I was a commander at the time. I said, why me? Why my company moves a battery? And he's like, I'm going to go fight. Why not go with a fighter? And that resonated with me. And so it's been a point of mine to try and marry up the Army with fighting so that people realize, hey, this is what you've been fighting for you in your country, fighting for your country and fighting for your freedoms overseas. And so people in the Army can see, hey, this is what a warrior mindset. This is a person who has a warrior mindset. This is a person who is not afraid to engage the enemy in close combat because that's what I do. And so I've been very, very fortunate to get the commanders who are okay with that, and to be a commander myself, and I think I've done a good job of it, of representing the Army well in that process. And so I will continue to do so for my foreseeable future.
Jason, we'll end on this. It's a little segment I like to call Really Random. That's where I ask you a random question and you give me the real answer. Some of these questions are custom made just for you, and some of these questions are random ones that I ask all the people I interview. So here's the first question. Superpower you'd love to have?
So what I'd love to have depends was in Iraq, I had the ability to be able to make things disappear for the obvious reasons only. So one of the superpowers that I wish I had, and I say this because it's the only thing that makes me human, is the ability to create time. 24 hours in a day is the only thing I think that limits me. There is 24 hours in a day for you, me, for everybody. I can do more with that 24 hours, I think. But if I could just get more time, we could do so much more. And that would be the one thing I wish I could do.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie, okay, so I'm a philosophy major, and that's what this is my major in college. V for Vendetta is my favorite movie. Not just because of the alliterations of the main actor, but also because of, and this is going to sound really weird because it's set in a dystopic future setting in England where being a patriot is arguably a bad thing, but also because of and I'm a Christian, and it has a Christian setting too as well, but a negative one. But also because of the fact that I really, really like how in that particular movie they never unmasked the guy, but you always wondered what he looked like, and that was, so maybe it's the fact that it makes that itch in my brain stay there. But that's my favorite movie.
Movie you've seen the most times?
Oh dear Lord, probably Vision Quest. I'm a wrestler. We watched it before districts, before regions, before states, before the season started. I had the movie in high school so many times I almost had the lines remember. And then before that it'd be Ninja Turtles.
Favorite color?
Red.
Favorite guilty pleasure?
Sounds terrible, but Chips Ahoy and milk.
Celebrity people say you look like?
The Rock. Or Bobby Lashley, if you want to consider him a celebrity.
Okay, I consider him. He's in our world. Okay. Go-to song when you're singing in the shower?
Oh, man, that's rather personal. Stevie Wonder, Isn't She Lovely?
Since you're fighting on Halloween, are you a fan of that holiday?
Yes, but not as much as my wife.
Favorite candy?
So we don't consider cookies candy because I'm a cookie connoisseur. It probably would be a Snickers bar, and if not that, then a sour anything.
Any chance when you're making your walkout on the 31st, we see you in costume?
No, I'm a consummate professional, and so I think that kind of detracts. I like to have fun when I walk out, don't get me wrong. I get in the mood and in the groove of remembering all of the work and dedication and battling that positive feeling that I've had when I've sparred before leading up to the fight. But costumes get in the way of that, I think. That's just me.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite Halloween costume? Like when you were a kid, when you went trick-or-treating, what was the best thing you ever went as?
I was a ninja so many times, it's disgusting. It's sad. And that's why I've seen Ninja Turtles so much. When I was a little kid, I did memorize the lines to the first Ninja Turtles.
What's your pet peeve?
Oh my! If you ask my wife, everything. But the little things. I was talking to a professional. So people that chew with their mouth open, people who speak horrifically, but yet for some reason find a constant need to convey information to you. All of those things bother me.
Right.
I have a very small circle of friends as a result.
Was it always your plan to go into the Army? Because obviously you went to West Point, and now obviously you're in the Army still, but was that always your plan?
So yes, I, from the time of being very young, I wanted to go into the military. If you knew me as a kid, when you say guilty pleasure, cookies and milk, most people would say like a tequila bender. Because to me, cookies and milk is a tequila bender. I didn't do anything. I had the most boring life, and I love it to death. I love the fact that I woke up 3 times a day, go home, have my kid in my arms, put them to bed, and go to sleep, and rinse, wash, repeat that so much. And I've just done that so much I forgot the damn question. So the plan has always been that, because that's been the life that I've just kind of grown towards. Just a disciplined kind of life. I like it.
How much time do you get off, like vacations, or like when you have this fight coming up? How much time will they allow you to take off? Like, will you only get a couple days before and after the fight to have off? Like, do you ever get to rest your body after a fight? Because sometimes you might not come out 100%. You might have some injuries here and there. How much time will they give you off?
Yeah. I do rest my body. Of course, that's necessary. I've been fortunate enough to not have to. I've only had to go to the doctors twice in 20 fights afterwards. So I've been very, very fortunate. If I needed the time off, I would take it. I haven't needed a vast amount of time off from work. I take time off for physical activity. And I also add this: there's nothing quite like the healing properties of sitting on the couch with your daughters in your arms and your dad under your feet. That heals you faster than anything.
In 2008 and 2010, you won the Cruiserweight Army Combatants title. What was that like?
It was an accomplishment. It was an incredible accomplishment for me. The Army is filled with dudes who fight for the obvious reasons. And so to be able to say that I was better than every 185-pound guy in the Army who fight was substantial for me. Very substantial. And it was a really great experience. It was really great training for it. And it was really great meeting all the other guys in the Army who love to do what I love to do.
What are the rules to that competition? Is it unified rules or is it a modified rule set?
So they're unified rules minus elbows. There's no elbows. They took out elbows. That's it.
And how many times do you have to fight to win it?
Okay, so that particular one, it's 3 days of competition. So the first few rounds is grappling. I had 5 grappling matches day 1. Day 2, I only had 1 pancrase round. The pancrase round is, of course, open hands to the face and closed hands to the body and kicking. And that's actually just 1 10-minute period. An whole 10-minute period. And then if you make it through that one, if you lose, you have 2 of those on day 2. And then the last day is the actual fight on day 3.
Would you ever consider doing it again?
I did. Also, I competed in 12. I placed 3rd. The only reason I wouldn't do it again is because there's a high probability of injury when you put that much wear and tear on your body, and I'm not being compensated for it. In the Army, the most, especially because I'm an officer too, I probably won't even get an award for it. I just get a great job. By the way, there's some work on your desk.
Right.
So yeah, it just doesn't have after winning it 3 times, there's not a lot of pop left in it, I guess.
Time period you'd like to go back and visit, and why?
So, I take that so seriously. I would be so concerned to change what I've got going on right now. Not to mention, I love music from the 60s and 70s, but let's face it, I'm an African-American man, and it wasn't so good for us back then. So I don't really necessarily think I would want to spend too much time back then. My grandmother was born in the 20s during the Great Depression, and I've seen a lot of photography from then, and I like the simplistic life that they had back then, but again, that's probably not a good time for me to be around. So I'm perfectly content in the here and now. If anything, I would like to go forward. Maybe go back and see Jesus, but besides that, I'd like to go forward.
Let's say you found a magic lamp, and you rubbed that magic lamp, and a genie appeared, and the genie said he was going to grant you 3 wishes. What would those 3 wishes be?
Can I wish for more wishes?
No. Give me something more. Dig deeper.
So I would wish that for my children to always be well. Just for them to be well. Not necessarily if it's going to be easy for them, but for them to be well. I would wish for enough money to be comfortable, and then I would wish myself out of a job, because I've seen what war creates, and I don't like it. I see the necessity for it, but I would definitely wish for world peace, because once you've been in a military hospital downrange, you don't ever forget that.
Person you look up to the most?
In what aspect? In my professional career as a military officer, in my fighting career, the person who I think does the most in my world that I see every day is my wife. Mm-hmm. It's overwhelmingly hard for her to manage when I'm gone for 14 to 16 hours a day. And the time that I am home, I have to devote to my children. And so she does a lot. Any military wife does, but a military fighting wife, oh my God. Mm-hmm. There's a definite application for sainthood that comes with that.
How long have you been stationed at Fort Hood?
Been at Fort Hood since 2012, actually.
What's the situation with your nickname? Because I've seen it changed a bunch of different times. I've seen you're the king of the battle. I've seen you're G.I. Jason. I see you're righteous. What's going on with the nickname? Have you settled on one?
Yes, I am righteous. So I used to be G.I. Jason, and when I was at Fort Hill, I was G.I. Jason. I've been paying when I dropped down from 85 to 70. I was a little bit different. I act a little bit different in the cage. Not too much different off the cage, but I am not the heavy pressure tank that I was at 185. A little bit more fluid at 170. And righteous is my middle name. It's actually my given middle name. And so that is both my middle name and my fight name.
Best advice you ever given through life, best advice you ever given through the military, and best advice you ever given through fighting, and who gave it to you?
So my father told me something that has paid me dividends and still does. He said, befriend the doorkeepers, right? Because, they're the ones who hold the keys to the gates. Mm-hmm. So what that meant was, be nice to all the little people. Be nice to the janitors, be nice to the secretaries, be nice, because that's, number one, that's what really is the determination of you being a man, an upstanding man. And number two, as selfish as this sounds, at the end of the day, that's how you're going to get anything done you ever want to get done. And so I've done that, and it paid me dividends and still does. In the military, somebody told me winning commands demand. So when you're in charge of something, be in charge of it and try and make it the best that you can. And for officer side of the house, because as a commissioned officer, we focus on the mission, and the non-commissioned officer once told me the mission is the people. You can't do a mission without people. And so I'm now the commandant of the Fort Hood Resiliency Campus, and all we do is try and build up people, make them more resilient. And so I'm fortunate enough to have people be my mission and be able to work with people and help them out on a regular basis. I had 176,641 visits or interactions with my campus last fiscal year, so that's pretty awesome that I get a chance to do that, and that's a result of that piece of advice I got in the military. Mm-hmm. And then so the best advice I ever got as a fighter is, and this also attributes to life, impose your will. So, you have to make a fight be the fight you want it to be. Eric Guerrero was a wrestler at Oklahoma State, and people used to gasp at his ability to go in and set paces and make people wrestle the way he wanted them to wrestle. And so when you fight, you have to do the same thing. And you kind of have to do the same thing in life if you're going to take it by the horns and wrestle to the ground and win.
What's the best thing that ever happened to you?
I have children.
What's the worst thing that ever happened to you?
I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you, because every bad thing that's happened to me is also, every time a door's been shut in my life, one has been opened. And I try to stay positive, so I can't really say what the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Because every bad thing that's happened to me, I've had surgery on my knee my freshman year in college, but that opened doors, and so, not too much bad has happened to me. The worst thing that ever could happen to me is something could happen to my family that would near destroy me.
What's your hidden talent?
I'm actually my hidden talent in my life. My hidden talent in life is I'm actually this sounds pretty stupid. I really like music, and I can break down and hear different parts of tracks. For instance, in a song, I can break it down and hear them like you would not believe. I can pull out drums, I can pull out miss beats. I'm really good at that.
What's your all-time favorite TV show? It can be a show that's currently on the air or a show that's no longer in the air. Just overall favorite TV show.
Simpsons fanatic because of the satire of life that it is. I love Simpsons.
Now, this will be a very interesting one because obviously you're not the typical fighter. You have another more stressful job than the typical fighter, your day job, I guess you could say. But what do you worry about? What's something that keeps you up at night?
The only thing that keeps me up at night is, not the only thing. Traumatic stress out the door. The only thing that keeps me up at night is how well my children will do. Things that happen to them. For instance, my daughter got spit at in school probably about 3 weeks ago, and oh boy, that had me so riled up it wasn't even funny. Mm-hmm.
Right.
But yeah, something bad befalls my family is pretty much the only thing that keeps me up at night.
I remember a while back you were doing some anti-bullying talks. You're talking to children at school. Are you still doing that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'm actually doing that tomorrow.
Interesting. Last question, Jason. What's the number one thing on your bucket list?
I want to travel without being in a country where everybody wants to kill me.
Nice.
At some point in time, I went up, me and my wife were going to buy a trailer. We were going to eat our way around the country, go to every state fair. And the only thing I want to do is I want to go and I want to see, the great sights of the world. I want to go see the Great Wall. I want to go see the Venetian Fountain. I want to go see all those things,
Jason, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans? Another
big person here in Harker Heights in Plain, Texas. Headblade, Dr. Steve, all for 254, my strength and conditioning coaches, fantastic place to go. Just all really great places. And I would say to the fans is, hey, thank you for the opportunity. And one of the things I say when I'm the fans is, if you want to if it was for me to say thank you, do it. Because at the end of the day, I can tell you what they pay us. And it ain't enough to get up and leave your family for a year and take bullets the wrong way. It's not. They do it for something different. And they're a different breed of people. And they really are, they're heroes. I have seen some of the most heroic crap that you can't even imagine in movies. And I've seen people do it and not think twice. And then go out and do it again the next day. It's crazy. It's crazy. And so I just want you to appreciate them. Not me. I have the fortunate duty of being in charge of them and seeing them do great things. But thank them. They're incredible. The American soldier, the fighting men and women of the United States is quite honestly the best resource we have to offer.
Jason, this has been an honor and a privilege. Thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it, and I wish you the best of luck coming up on Halloween night at CFFC 52 against Emmanuel Wallow.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate the opportunity as well. And thank you so much for taking your time out, because I'm really not that important to anything. So thank you for taking that time out to talk to me. You have a great day, sir.